David, hello, welcome. Thanks for coming back after my absence, I appreciate it. Yeah, thanks. I'm going from one disaster to another, it seems, here in the past 3 months. It's been a horrible summer. Just a horrible summer. And they haven't permanently fixed the internet, but they've at least temporarily fixed it. My hope is that they don't show up in the middle of this and cut my internet off while they start running a new line. They told me they were going to coordinate with me when they were going to show up, but I'm hoping that they don't just randomly show up and do it today in the middle of the stream. But it got me some time to do other things. I did some upgrades on the computer and that sort of stuff, so when I wasn't able to really use it a whole lot, it gave me an opportunity to do some much needed upgrades to it, so I'm glad I had the opportunity to get that done. I really like Act 2. I always have. My first personal playthrough, or my first offline playthrough, Minthara was not able to be knocked out when I started. She wasn't able to be recruited into the party. And then I think it was patch 3 or patch 4 she was able to be recruited. I actually scrapped something like 60 hours of that playthrough. Went back, reloaded a previous save right before my fight with her and redid it all just so I could have the opportunity to recruit her and see what she was like as a player character and all of that sort of stuff. So I'm really looking forward to showing that today because we haven't seen her in any of my live streams as a playable character. We won't be utilizing her very much at this point. The east side of the river is much better suited to Karlach than Minthara, and I'll explain a little bit of that once we get into certain encounters. But she's going to be a very prominent member of this group going forward from the west side of the Chionthar River on through Act 3. She's an extremely powerful paladin, and I'll be really glad to have her in the party. Hey, Lord Henry, thanks. Yeah, I'm glad to be back as well, and thank all of you for putting up with my unexpected absence, but still an absence all the same. So I appreciate y'all being here. But yeah, David, I'm anxious to showcase Minthara a little bit. I was really happy to see all 3 of my honor mode playthroughs worked out the same way. So Sazin and Minthara both were here at Moonrise. So my offline honor mode, which parallels this one, just in case something horrifically goes wrong with this one, I have a backup. And then my personal tactician mode playthrough, which is mirroring this, which allows me to test for both of them. All of them ended up the same way here at this same spot, so I was really happy to see that all of that planning in Act 1 worked out. Yeah, Lord Henry, it's really, really good. That's one of the things that I wish there was a way built into the storyline more to do what we're going to do today in recruiting Minthara, rather than having to knock her out and then find her here. I wish there was a built-in scripted storyline way to somehow convince her or something like that to recruit her, because Emma Gregory, who is the actor for Minthara, she does a great job of voicing her lines, and the writers have put together a really in-depth character arc for Minthara, and it's a shame that most people will never see it, because they go into the goblin camp and it says kill 3 goblin leaders, and that's what they go do. So you miss out on, like I say, some amazing work by Emma and her writers to really see the character. And yeah, she is a fully developed character. She doesn't have a quest line like the other companion characters do, but she has a fully fleshed out romance system, interaction system with all of the events that happen in the game around her, and all of that sort of stuff. So it's something I wish more people got to see in the game. Yes, Lord Henry, I actually have. I haven't. I've taken a look through it and looked at the functionality. We're going to talk about patch 7 for about 10 to 15 minutes at the start here. I don't want. I could spend the entire live stream talking about it. We're all waiting for a community post to go up here in the next week or so, probably, to better explain some of the functionality behind it for the mod makers. But yeah, on first glance, for the first time Larian has done something like this, I will say it's a very good first draft of it. It's hard to oversell how much work goes into this, into making this thing work. But the front end and how it operates and that sort of stuff, and how it integrates with the game through the quote-unquote DLC data pack and that sort of stuff, probably needs a little bit of work. But as far as the content on it, which you were specifically addressing there, the content we knew was going to be great. We knew it was going to be. The modding community around Baldur's Gate 3 has been very, very robust from the start of the game. What I don't think we really expected was Larian to give everybody access to Osiris, which is their in-game coding language, or their in-house coding language. I don't think many people expected that. You don't see stuff like that, like in Skyrim and that sort of stuff. So I was a little surprised about that, but for me, it's always been more about the back end of it. The content is always great. I've looked through the mods. I keep up with the mods as they get released by content creators. Every couple of weeks I go check in on them. I just don't use them because I'm still working through achievements, but I know a lot of the content out there, and having access to it here in the game is great. Like I say, a really, really good first draft. But the content itself, yeah, it's always been amazing. It's always been. The modding community is, for any game, not just this one, but the community taking ownership of that sort of stuff has always been amazing. Welcome, everyone, to today's live stream, episode number 22 of our Baldur's Gate 3 Honor Mode gameplay series. I'm Commander Jarval, and I want to thank you for coming along on our journey today. So, on admin notes, as I said, it's been a week without internet. I got internet back on Thursday evening. Did some testing of it yesterday, and it seems to be functioning. I don't seem to be dropping any frames off. My upload streaming speed seems to be okay. This is not a permanent fix. They have simply spliced the wires together for me and 3 other houses. They are going to be coming back to permanently install new lines from the distribution box, and they've said that they're going to be coordinated with me on when that happens. So I'm hopeful that they're not just going to show up in the middle of one of my live streams either today or tomorrow and cut my internet off and start running new lines, but I don't know that to be the case. So hopefully everything goes okay, but if the internet suddenly drops out, it's probably because they're at the point where they need to do the new connections and that sort of stuff, and they just simply haven't told me. So we'll kind of keep an eye on it, make sure everything's working okay, but if something unexpected drops out, then I do apologize, but it is what it is. So the other huge admin note is 15,000 plus words worth of admin note, and that was that Thursday of this week, which is what Larian does is they released patch 7. Now, evidently, the closed beta has been happening. My request was not approved, evidently, to go through the closed beta, because I didn't know it was actually happening. But they got some really good feedback from it, from all of the content creators that were part of it, and they released it. Now, for consoles and Mac, you're going to have to wait a little bit longer. It's, again, a massive patch, and it's going to take a bit to make sure that, especially on consoles, that the compatibility is working right. There's a lot of changes specifically for consoles, so trust me when I say it's a little painful up front to be waiting for a patch that has already been out on PC, but it's going to be well worth it for consoles. So, consoles and Mac players, I apologize. I feel for you, but you're going to get a better product here because of the delay. Now, patch 7, we're not going to go through all of it. I could spend 3 hours talking about it. However, there are some very important things and some things that directly impact us that we do want to talk about. But before we do, realize that this is probably going to be the last patch. They even mentioned in the patch notes that Sven has told them, get back to work on new stuff. So there has to come an end to active content updates, and I would expect that this is going to be the last major one, and that's why this thing is so big, is because they're doing their best to try and clear up as many things as they possibly can. The mod manager and the modding portion of it, I expect to keep being updated, and that's because this is the first time Larian has done it, and I think that they are going to see that they are going to want to fully integrate a mod manager type setup into future intellectual property content that they release. And this allows them to basically beta test a modding system from the community for placement in a future game. So I expect that the mod manager is going to get continual updates here for a while as we go through this. But as far as content for the rest of the game, this is probably it. I expect there are going to be a couple of more hot fixes maybe. It's inevitable after you release a patch, let alone one that is this big, that you're going to have to do some hot fixes to make some corrections as you get, like I say, tens of thousands of more people beta testing it for you. But as far as a massive new content drop, I would expect that patch 7 is the end of it. Again, I could be wrong, but like I say, they even mentioned it in the patch notes. So what are the big things here in patch 7? Well, the first obviously is a change that you see on the screen, and that's the mod manager. Now, I'm not going to go through the mod manager because, again, I could spend 3 hours talking about the patch here, and none of you want to see that. The mod manager, as I mentioned in the chatting section before we started, the mod manager is a very, very good first draft at integrating community mods into the game. Now, the community mod content is great. It's been great for literally a year. The community is very robust. They are very challenging toward what the game can and cannot do. And there are some amazing mods in there, both for quality of life as well as actual content that has been done. And I strongly suggest that you take a look through it. If you're not worried about achievements anymore, or you've gotten as many of the achievements as you want, then go take a look through it, because the community is very, very robust and they are constantly changing. The mod manager itself, like I say, is what I was much more interested in. Like I say, it's a very good first draft. I think that they're going to keep improving on it, giving players access to Osiris, their in-house coding language, to allow you to easier create mods without having a whole lot of that programming experience is incredibly useful. I didn't expect to see that. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff about the mod manager that I expect to be tweaked here over the coming months as they continue to improve it. Starting here at the start screen, there's one other thing that you will notice that's different. The difficulty now shows as honor mode. I don't know why this was ever a thing, but if you played honor mode, the difficulty was always tactician. You can go through the previous live streams and look, it always says tactician. Now it lets you know that it is honor mode, which saves me because I have 4 playthroughs going right now. 2 of them in tactician, 2 of them in honor mode, and this helps me keep them separate a little bit. So that's another quality of life improvement. Now, as far as the big things that impact us, and again, these are just my selection based upon my playthroughs and what we've all experienced. The release notes, I think, are over 17,000 words. It's huge. It affects every aspect of the game from Act 1 through Act 3. Single player to multiplayer, it's huge. So I've read every line of it, and there's some amazing things in there, but I've cherry-picked some things that apply to us specifically. So first, they fixed the question mark over Will's head. So we've seen that in our 2 parallel playthroughs where Will has a question mark over his head all the time and there's no dialogue. Well, they have finally fixed that. We also saw in one of our playthroughs in Falogir's Fireworks where Avery was not able to path to the top floor of Falogir's Fireworks and it crashes the game. They have also fixed that. We have seen in our playthroughs Jaheira joining the party and not following along like Shadowheart used to way back in the day. They have fixed that. So 3 things that specifically have affected us from a bug perspective, and you've all seen and witnessed, are now going to be fixed. So some other things that are interesting. Custom mode, when you start a new game, and I can probably hit. So in custom mode, there's now a rule set. This wasn't here, but now there's an honor mode rule set. And the honor mode rule set, you can see over at the right, allows the bosses to have their legendary actions. Now you can change everything else about it. You can uncheck single save, all of that sort of stuff, but this was never an option. The only way to get legendary actions on bosses was to play honor mode, which was kind of bad for me as a content creator because I like to test in an off-stream replayable with a save version of it, and I just can't. Well, now if you start from scratch, you can do that, which I don't know why it was ever left out, but now it's available for you to pick an honor mode rule set, which allows you to do those things. Now, the bad thing about it is that if you've already started a tactician playthrough or something like that, you can't change it to custom mode. It has to be a brand new from scratch. And I'm not going to go through all of Act 1 again just to get me up to where I am. So I just test the best I can without having legendary actions and kind of go from there. But that's now an option. There are some gameplay things that I think here are fairly interesting for me. One, Minthara now supposedly has some additional dialogue reacting to you knocking her out in Act 1, if you go recruiter. I haven't seen that specifically. I'm still kind of testing some of the dialogue options with her, but we will maybe see some of that today when we go recruiter. The whole giving a weapon or something like that from one character to another which has always been one of those things where you could throw a weapon at somebody, have somebody else pick it up, go to your inventory, swap it back to the original character who threw it, and then they could throw it again. That was always been a thing in the game. But now supposedly swapping weapons between characters uses an action, which makes more sense. Your DM would never let you do that without using your action to do it. I don't know if it's working or if I'm just misreading the note about it, but in my testing, it didn't seem to be doing that. It seemed to still be working as normal. So we'll kind of look at it a little bit today, possibly, when we're getting into some of this combat and see how it works. One of the things that we've seen, or we haven't seen before, is something I had to deal with at the end of Act 1 with the Hag. Now, the Hag fight in Honor Mode is incredibly distracting. There's so many things going on, and you saw what I did. I was too caught up in other things and missed out on the negotiations for the Hag's Hair. But those negotiations are incredibly difficult in Honor Mode, and that's because of her legendary action. She has a wild magic surge that whenever you cast a spell, she makes duplicates of herself. The problem is that when you've gotten her below 20 hit points and you go into the conversation with her and you try and use a persuade, intimidate, or deception option on her, and you cast guidance. Guidance is a spell. She reacts to that spell. It knocks you out of the negotiation cutscene, and she creates more duplicates of herself, and now you're locked into having to kill her. So you have to make a really hard persuasion check there to get both the Hag's Hair and her without the benefit of some additional things to go along to help you out. They have now fixed that, so she no longer reacts to those type of spells when you're in that conversation, which is good. That's how it should be, and that's been fixed. We're past that. Unfortunately, like I say, there were so many things in that fight that make it so complicated that I just simply wasn't paying attention well enough. And I was actually thinking a little bit about that because I wanted to place my main character closest to her so she'd be in the dialogue, make sure that she had a guidance buff before she went into that conversation and all that sort of stuff. So it's good that they fixed that. A couple of things that we're going to be seeing here in Act 2. The Meanlocks, who we saw in our Paladin and Bard live streams, we're going to see coming up here probably next week. In the Honor Mode playthrough here, in the basement underneath of the Last Light Inn. The Meanlocks use fear, their fear aura, all the time. It makes that fight incredibly difficult, especially on Honor Mode. The problem was that saving throw against fear was Constitution based for some reason, not Wisdom, which is what the normal saving throw for fear is. So they've changed it back to Wisdom, which is incredibly good. That helps us in a bunch of different ways to be able to make those saving throws easier for certain characters to make. So hopefully it makes that fight quite a bit easier, especially on Honor Mode. There's a patch note about Marcus and Isabel and the conversation, which I'm going to be exploring later on today in my off-stream playthrough so I can test it, mentioning that casting silence on the room where Isabel is when you start that conversation is either going to prevent Marcus from spawning or is going to prevent the ghouls from spawning, because remember, he kind of yells, he screeches, and that calls all of the ghouls in, and that could be incredibly useful if that's actually true. I'm going to test it a bit and see how it works, because we're going to be avoiding talking to Isabel at all costs in Honor Mode. But if that gives us a way to better do that interaction, I would like to show it and not have to have the fight with Marcus where I could lose the tieflings. So we'll kind of check that out. And the last thing is something that we actually did. If you remember, a few weeks ago, in my Bard and Paladin playthroughs, we had been carrying around Mull's eye patch, which you find in Act 2 here. We had carried it around all the way until Act 3 when we found Mull in the guild hall. There was no dialogue to give it back to him, so we just bartered it back to him and gave it to him for no gold. Now there's actually a dialogue for it, which makes a lot of sense. It was always sitting there, and a lot of people had commented on it in the forums that the item's sitting here. I went and I gave it back to him, and there was nothing. I mean, what? And they've added that in, so I'm really anxious to kind of check that out as well. So, but again, I didn't want to spend any more than 15 minutes going through some of these. Like I say, it's a huge set of patch notes. Go take a look at them. As Larian said, it's a big patch, so it needs 160 gigabytes of free space for the install, so it may be easier for you to do an uninstall and a reinstall. Just make sure that you have either your save games through Steam or GOG online, or you've done a backup of those before you do it, because I'm not entirely sure how the save game aspect works of doing a reinstall. But yeah, that's what they said. If you're going to patch it and you don't have the space, then do an uninstall and then do a reinstall, and it will be the patched version to begin with. So I think that's for our admin notes. So on our recap, last week we had made a beeline for Moonrise Towers, and we picked up a quest for Mazora along the way, and we got here to Moonrise Towers. We rescued, or we let Saza go, which got us an achievement, and we have so far saved Minthara's life. Now we're gonna go deal with deciding Minthara's fate here at the start, and then we are going to take off and do a bunch of exploration on the east side of the Chionthar River out here in the wild. So let's go ahead and jump in and get started with that. And Ostamura and Rudy, I know I was in the middle of talking about all that, but thank you both for being here. I appreciate it. I'm really glad to be back. I thank all of you who are here today for putting up with the unexpected absence for a week because of the internet. It's just been one thing after another. So here we are in Moonrise. After we had the cutscene and encounter with Ketheric, we look at our journal. We now have a quest here to decide Minthara's fate, and we are going to go do that. Now this can be a little tricky here, and in honor mode I don't want to take any chances on this, so I'm going to quickly make a change. Okay. Just to be able to get my my chances up here for what we're going to be doing. Because again, honor mode, I get one shot to do this, and you don't want to mess it up. So our quest marker is over here. And it's to head down the stairs here into the prisons.
Ugh, I hate swamps. The place reeks. Probably full of bloodsuckers as well. Okay,
now you've got a patrolling scrying eye. This is important. The scrying eye is going to be moving back and forth down this path and back here. Now the scrying eye does not go into this room, but it can see into that room, and you saw the icon above its head. It has see invisibility. So one of the ways to deal with this once you rescue Minthara is to cast invisibility on her, kind of like we did with Counselor Floric in the Bard and Paladin playthroughs. However, the scrying eyes both here and upstairs make that nigh impossible to do, because they have huge detection cones. They can see invisibility. They will knock Minthara out of invisibility, and then you have to deal with it. The other thing is that if the scrying eye sees you committing violence, it's going to call for reinforcements. And that call for reinforcements can have unexpected consequences upstairs. So you don't want all of Moonrise going hostile here. We don't want that to happen. We want to deal with that aspect of Moonrise later. So you want to make sure that when you go in here and do this, that you close the door behind you. The scrying eye does not open doors, and you'll see it. It's going to kind of patrol around this area. And you can see it's got the see invisibility trait, if it would stay. So that's what makes it hard to keep Minthara in invisibility through all of this. But you'll see how it patrols. It's going to go over here. And that's where it's going to end up. Okay, but it can see inside this room because it's got a huge detection cone that goes along with it. So you want to make sure you close the door behind you. So let's go ahead and head in here.
What's left to you, Minthara? You are alone.
And again, make sure you close the door behind you. When you do, you see the outside dims out. It's now treating that as a separate area that is despawning certain things farther outside of render range. So that's how you know that you're kind of safe and secure in here. I'm going to break my group, and everybody else is going to kind of move down here into this blind spot.
Resist the voice of a god.
It is up to.
No. God.
Shadows don't suit me.
Blasphemer. This way. Unseen. Perfect.
What to do?
Okay, and now for myself. Now there's
Prisoner.
a couple of different ways to do this that we're going to explore here. I will show you what I think is the best way to do it in honor mode, but it's very character dependent. If you don't have a bard here or a high charisma character who has some expertise in persuasion, you may want to do this a different way. But I'm going to move kind of up here on this side
He has forsaken you.
of these two, and I'm going to start the conversation.
You were adored, Minthara. Brought up from the darkness and into the Absolute's light.
She cherished you, but it wasn't enough. You were distracted by your own desires.
Bloodlust. Murder. Chaos.
And most damning of all, an inability to follow orders.
I obeyed to the best of my ability.
And isn't that depressing?
You are nothing.
The drow reaches out to you psychically, connecting with you for a moment. She is infected like you, and her mind is disintegrating.
Come to observe, true soul. She is a lesson. None can rise so high that they cannot fall again. We are erasing her.
Okay, so here's your first choice on how to play this out. Two ways. You can choose violence, or you can not. Now, the not choice there starts here, where you have to make either a deception or an intimidation check to take over the questioning of Minthara. Now, this is an easy way to do it. The deception check is actually the better here. I believe it's DC 10. The intimidation is DC 14. But this is a relatively easy thing to pass to start with, but this is not where it ends. Because if you take over the questioning of Minthara, then you have to convince Minthara, or you actually have to break through the mind kind of assault she's under to be able to talk to her. When you talk to her, you can convince her to play along, that she's been broken, and you can take her out without a fight. However, that the DC of a wisdom check, and it is a wisdom check, meaning it's not an ability check. It is based purely on your wisdom score. Is incredibly hard. It's DC 18. And without having all the additional things added onto it, like favorable beginnings and all of that sort of stuff, and a proficiency and expertise, you get none of that. And it's an incredibly hard skill check to pass, or ability check to pass. And if you don't, then things go really badly, and all of Moonrise can go hostile against you. So the easier way to do this here is to just choose violence right here and end these two and deal with the consequences afterwards. So we're going to pick this option down here.
A challenge, sister? Who would be so bold?
Awful, sister. Meat that doesn't yet know it is dead.
Okay, and now you can see that we're in combat, but we still have 3 of our party that is not in a detection cone. So we're able to bring them in whenever we want. So both of the questioners here are fairly difficult enemies to deal with. They have confusion, which they cast a lot, to basically make you skip your turns if you fail the saving throw. They also use a lot of psychic and mind-based spells, so they will throw Tasha's hideous laughter at you, they will throw fear at you, and that sort of stuff. So they are not easy enemies to deal with by any means. My goal here is to focus one of them and get rid of one of them at least, so that the other one gets a turn and we can hopefully try and minimize the damage that one is going to be able to do. Alright, so to do this, what I'm going to do is focus on Questioner Sumera here, and that's because she's the easiest to hit from range with my other 3 characters. Jason is the one that's causing this detection cone to be this way, but I can't kill her with just my Bard. I don't have enough DPS to do it. So that detection cone is there. So if the detection cone is there, I want somebody to be able to step out here, and it's a better angle to be able to hit Sumera than Questioner Jason. So I'm going to focus my damage here, but I'm still going to be damaging both of them, because I'm going to be using Slashing Flourish to do this. But I want to start by reapplying Hex. The icons for Hex have changed. They are now reordered. So they're in the order that your ability scores show up, and they have different icons, which kind of explain them a little bit. So we'll go ahead and reapply Strength here. And now we're going to do a Slashing Flourish. Okay, Sumera is the one that we definitely want to focus on here, so I'm going to proc Luck of the Far Realms for this. Okay, and now I'm going to do another. Okay, so she's down below half hit points now. So let's try and bring Karlach into this fight with a throw. Okay, now again, I'm not going to throw the returning pike to start with because we're not in combat yet, so I don't want the initiative to roll badly and her pike not to come back, so let me see if I can get a spot. Okay, so she's not going to be able to do it there. Let's start with Astarion then instead. Okay, so see, he's able to hit her from there.
Surprise.
And killed her. That was incredibly useful, and Astarion did not get brought into combat because of that. Because he one-shotted her.
Make it hurt.
Okay.
You're making me sweat.
So now Karlach definitely cannot throw or anything at her from there. She is definitely blocked, so Karlach would have to come out here to be able to do it. So let's see if we can move her around and see if we can get Shadowheart over here and see if she has a line to do anything. Okay, so she can step out and do it. So let's throw a guiding bolt here. She's gonna have to step into it, into the detection area, but maybe she will still get the spell off.
Time to meet your maker.
She did, and it got a 1 hit point. I love it.
I'd love to, thanks.
Okay.
Blood comes easy these days.
This feels good.
So Astarion can still, he's rolled well in initiative, so we could skip our turn and let Minthara actually end her. But I don't think I'm going to take any chances here. So let's get the happy trait out of this.
With finesse.
I expected to be greeted as a hero. But the wretches imprisoned me and tried to tear my mind apart. I didn't think anyone would come for me. Erasing my thoughts and my will. Even I could not have endured for much longer. Agreed.
Now here you have two different options, because there are a couple of different ways to go about doing this. You have to rescue Wulbren and the Tieflings from the prison here anyway. So if you go from here and you clear out the guards down here, you give Wulbren his hammer, and he opens up access to the boat at the docks. Then if you take that boat with Minthara, you can leave her here, then you can come back and pick her up, get on that boat. You still have one dialogue check you have to make unless you have cleared out the guards outside at the docks. If you've cleared them out already, the 3 guards and one kind of thief, rogue, assassin looking person out there, if you've already killed them, then you don't have to deal with any checks at all. So that may be a better option for you if you're more the fighter class types and not the persuasion types, is to leave her here, come back and get her, and after you've cleared out the basement and the guards outside, and that way you don't have to make any checks at all. Me, I'm very persuasion based with a bard, so we're going to take her with us.
Lead the way.
and she now becomes
Our enemies are
a
everywhere.
follower. And you can kind of see a little bit about her right now. Now she's what I call artificially inflated right now, in that she's a level 6 paladin here, and you can kind of see how she's built out. She has the 2-weapon fighting style. As a dual wielder, she has defense, so she's gaining a +1 to her armor class. She is a paladin, so she has divine health, and her movement speed is now showing. I'm gonna look, Lord Henry, because that's a very good question, to see if you can see their movement speeds or not. I'll do that here in a little bit. But you can see she has a high charisma here. So she has high charisma-based saving throws and checks to go along with it. Now we're going to be changing Minthara around completely, and you'll kind of see how that works. But she has a very specific class action called soul branding, which I'm going to explain again here in a little bit. And the other thing about, oh, we can't see it yet. I'll explain that one in a little bit too. So now we've gotten a level up here, right? We're not going to do that yet. We're going to focus on getting
All's well that ends.
Minthara out
As
of
bad
here.
as it could
And to
have.
do that, you need to get her outside of the protection area of Moonrise Towers. So you need to get her back into the Shadow Curse for a dialogue to trigger with her. Now, again, I want to make sure that I don't have anything else. Okay, so my persuasion is +9 right now. Okay, so let's go ahead and head out of here. And as soon as we leave, we're immediately going to run into a guard that we remember was sitting out here.
Can't slow down.
Minthara is supposed to be in a cell. You have some explaining to do.
Okay, if you look through the options here, my persuasion on this character is the best one that I have. Depending upon how you've built it out, if you've gone with actor or something like that, and you've chosen the right skills, any of these may be the best to do. But here I have proficiency and expertise in persuasion. Okay, they've given a new icon for favorable beginnings, which is nice. The DC on this is 14. I have a total bonus of 13 to 16, so again, I can only fail this with a nat 1, which means I'm going to.
The guard is happy to let you pass. Minthara is rather less happy about your choice of words.
Because remember,
Delayed. We will return and kill them all.
the option that we picked there said that she was our personal slave. So now we're going to head up the stairs.
Sunlight isn't so bad, Astarion. Where I came from, we would often work exclusively under...
Yes, but you chose darkness.
This leads you back to the throne room, which you can certainly do. I'm going to head out this door, which leads us back to the traders.
Forbidden. And we all lust after the forbidden.
And we're going to walk right by everybody.
Your family will answer.
Now again, the patrolling scrying eye that's up here can make this very, very difficult if you're trying to sneak her out with invisibility. And now we've got 2 more guards that we saw right when we came in.
So, what?
Halt!
Deal with them, or I will.
We heard she'd been escorted from her cell. Not that she could leave the tower.
The general ordered that she be repurposed, not freed.
Okay, so here we have another persuasion option, which again is the one that we're going to go with. Again, that same DC, same bonuses.
Creatures like her don't understand the concept of loyalty. Keep her on a tight leash.
And now, again, we need to just get her into the Shadow Curse for this to work. Couple of things to be aware of here. I have actually seen this happen, where after the conversation is done, because right now Minthara
Who's next?
is benefiting from the Pixie's blessing. She's not really benefiting from the Pixie's blessing. She's only getting that because she's in our party. As soon as she leaves our party, that buff goes away. If she's out here in the Shadow Curse, she's going to be susceptible to it. Now, the game is fairly well scripted that she walks away from you and then disappears into thin air. But I have seen it happen where she tries to walk, instead of walking back this way, she walks this way around the corner and doesn't disappear until she gets about here. That's a long way for her to be inside the Shadow Curse. And I've seen her actually change into Shadow Cursed Undead right around here before. So I'm not going to take that chance. So when we send her to camp, I'm going to and she leaves our party, I'm going to immediately fast travel to camp. That will teleport her to the camp with you and make sure that she is not changed out here if she decides to run this way as opposed to running back this way and disappearing somewhere back here. Now we don't want to go too far out here because remember, we have all of our Shadow Cursed Undead from the Drider group sitting out here. We want to go far enough just so she gets outside.
I last left Moonrise as a commander in the Absolute's army, obeying the voice of a god. I thought I had found a home and a purpose.
Now I leave as an exile. But you risked your life to rescue me. For that, I am grateful.
The artifact connects with her, pulling your minds together and showing her all that you have seen. The prism, your dream visitor, the protection that keeps you from obeying the Absolute and becoming a Lithid. She knows it all in a moment. Her mind reels, but is no longer clouded. She accepts the truth. She has no choice.
There is much we must discuss. Do you have a safe place to camp nearby?
Goodbye for now. I will see you soon.
Now again, immediately there she goes, trying to walk up into the Shadow Curse. So immediately teleport to camp, just to be safe. Like I say, the game is scripted somewhat to try and prevent her from doing that. From becoming Shadow Cursed Undead. However, I have seen it happen, depending upon which path she takes. I've even seen her get into combat with the Drider group. So again, as soon as you get out of that conversation, immediately teleport to camp. Now this is going to serve a couple of purposes. One, we're going to get our level up, but two, we're going to get to talk to Minthara. But let's talk to everybody in our camp here real quick.
We must press forward. Let's deal with Ketheric, then find Voss in Baldur's Gate.
Swift as my feet can carry me.
Okay, Will is going to have some conversation because of the interaction with Mazora we had.
In my years as the Blade, I've witnessed countless cruelties, faced unimaginable evil. But Thorn, he is made of pure hate. The Sword Coast will rejoice when the bastard's fallen. And lest we forget, we've a devil to rescue. 2 missions, 1 destination. Not in a mere prison cell, certainly. My guess, Thorm will have confined him in the bowels of the tower. The deeper we dig, the closer we get. It's a first. Mazora set me on fiends inside and outside the Hells. She's never ordered a rescue.
Gods. She makes a mockery of everything the Blade stands for. Such an asshole.
Not just rot. I'd have to fight. One of those mindless blobs clawing at demons on the front lines of the Blood War. And it means everything to me. I always knew what my future held, and I know I chose right.
That was Will clearing his throat, not me, by the way. Okay, so now Karlach.
Soldier.
Yes! We need to go find Dammon. I'm going to get a hug soon.
The shadow curse. It doesn't seem to affect me like it does others. Not as badly, at least. Do you know what this means? I must be blessed. Lady Shah is protecting me where others are left to face her wrath. She loves me. She must do.
Okay, now we've seen all of this dialogue before. I don't know why this resets. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. After you get to Moonrise.
You're resourceful. You'll find a way. Don't give me that look. It's a good thing that I'm resistant to the shadows. This way I can help you. Lady Shah wouldn't bless me like this for no reason. There must be something she wants of me. Those signs we found about Dark Justiciars, perhaps they were no coincidence. In either case, I need to watch for any place dedicated to Lady Shah. A temple, perhaps.
Okay, and if you talk to her again, I'm pretty sure she's going to have the full...
I was hoping you'd come to chat. What do you need?
Yeah. Say, her entire set of conversations that we've had ever since the beginning has all reset. Again, not sure why. I'll go ahead and clear those out off stream.
Go ahead. I'm listening.
Okay, nothing from Gale.
Hello, my dear. Cazador, sired 7 spawn. Me and my 6 brothers and sisters. I was one of his first. Some of the others came years later. He was a monster to us all, but did take special pleasure in my pain. He said my screams sounded sweetest. Now that I'm gone, I don't know. I pity the other 6.
Okay. I think we've already talked to Lae'zel, haven't we?
Greetings.
Yes, we did. We talked to her at the very start. Okay, so now we're going to head down this way. And we have a new denizen of our camp. It's kind of funny that Minthara is in Halsin's little tent here. Halsin's dialogue tends to reset after Moonrise as well.
The shadow curse is upon us. As foul as I remember it. Perhaps even worse. But with the Oak Father's blessing, we may soon see it banished from these lands.
Okay, so again, a lot of these are, but some of them are new.
This land is more than just soil and rock, root and leaf. It is a living being, in the form of a young fey boy, with the forest itself in his eyes. His name is Thaniel. I've met him in my meditations, but since the curse was unleashed, I have not felt his presence. He is its prisoner, I fear. And as long as he remains so, his domain will lie in darkness. But if we can find him, we can break the curse. If you learn anything of the Shadowfell, or of a boy with the forest in his eyes, find me at once. I can't be exact, unfortunately. Time and the Shadow Curse won't have been kind to any traces that would have been left behind. A living witness is unlikely, I'll admit. But perhaps there'll be an unliving witness, or some lingering echo of what we seek. Don't worry. If you find something, you will know it.
Okay, and these have been reset, but not this one.
It's not easy, seeing the ravages of the Shadow Curse. But your camp is a most welcome solace. You've shared your fire with me, your company. A small pocket of light against the darkness. But one I couldn't do without. Thank you. You're too modest by far. What fate would I have met without you? Rotting in the goblin cells? Dying against an onslaught on the grove? More good has been done since I met you than in 100 years before. Words cannot express my gratitude.
So you do have options here to initiate a romance with Halsin.
Yes, I think you do. Forgive me. Sometimes I forget myself, gazing on the beauty of nature's creations.
Okay, so I'll reset these off stream as well, and now main attraction here. And now you can see Minthara's reset to level 1, so that we can level her up how we see fit, basically.
It does not compare with the comforts of home, but your camp is almost palatial in comparison to my previous accommodation. Thank you for allowing me to come here, and for bringing me back to myself. Each memory that returns to me is more disturbing than the last. The things that I did in the name of the Absolute. The things that were done to me. They broke my mind. Precisely. While our tadpoles live, and the cult have the means to control them, we will never be safe. We must eradicate them, starting with General Thorm. I mean Ketheric. My deference to him is a habit that will die hard, I fear. All that live can die. I can help you plot Ketheric's demise, but I need something from you first. Swear that you will keep me close. Until the Absolute is dead, at least.
Now this sounds more ominous than it really is. You don't have to keep Minthara in your party or anything like that through all of this. She just wants you not to send her away or anything like that.
The Prism will protect me. You will fight alongside me and help me to get my vengeance. I knew you were different to other true souls when we met, but I could see nothing clearly. Now, thanks to the Prism, the Absolute does not cloud my thoughts at all. I see that together, we can have our vengeance on those who infected us. Rest well, and keep your wits about you. Tomorrow, we go to war with the cult of the Absolute. General Thorm would have the world believe that his invulnerability is a gift from the Absolute. That is a lie, intended to impress those who flock to the cult's cause, and to strike fear in the minds of those who stand against the Absolute. I believe Thorm draws his power not from a divine source, but an arcane one. Moonrise is a den of necromancy, and the most powerful practitioner of the art is Thorm's closest advisor, Balthazar. He has chambers beside the generals, on the upper floor of the tower. I suspect we will find answers there. Now, rest. We will need our strength for what lies ahead. I intend to cause plenty, but only for our enemies.
Okay, now this option here is going to bring Minthara into your party. We're going to do that simply to level her up, and then we're going to dismiss her from the party. Like I say, she is going to be a very prominent member of our party going forward. However, the eastern side of the River Chionthar, she's not very useful, and I'll explain that as we get farther into that.
I do not sleep unless I wish to. Until I feel safe among this company, I shall spend my nights planning for the fights to come.
Okay, so we're just going to temporarily dismiss Karlach.
Indeed. Ready when you are.
Okay, and now we have the opportunity to level up Minthara. So let's look at a couple of things first. So we'll go into our tadpole powers. Minthara already comes with a host of Illithid powers. So this is the one thing that separates her as a player character from the rest of the Origin companions, in that, or other companions that you'll find, in that she has already embraced the tadpoles when she was under the thrall of the cult, and she has leveled up some of them. So she has some really powerful ones here. So she has Psionic Backlash already, which is free damage, basically, that she can dish out on her reaction. She has Concentrated Blast, which can be situationally very, very useful, especially if she's well, not especially, but she has to be concentrating on a spell, and we're going to be doing that with her most of the time. She's going to be concentrating on Hex for the most part, occasionally Darkness, but mostly Hex. She also has Favorable Beginnings, so that first attack roll that she has against a target, she throws her +3 proficiency bonus on top of. She does not have Luck of the Far Realms, which is an oversight that we are going to cure right now, because that is certainly something that we're going to use. And last is Charm. We don't see Charm, it hasn't been showcased much in my previous playthroughs, but it is going to be here. Charm allows you to use your reaction to keep an enemy from attacking you again. Now, you go, wait a minute, if that enemy just attacked you and you then charmed it, they can't attack you again. That is very true. If they have an extra attack, they don't get to use it. If they have a reaction, like you try and move away from them and they trigger an opportunity attack, it will not trigger because they can't attack you. So it allows you to better manage the enemy damage output, as well as helping you move your characters out of combat or around the battlefield without invoking opportunity attacks with the clever use of Charm as you go. So we're going to see more of that. But we can unlock others, especially Cull the Weak. She already has 6 evolved powers. This would be her 7th. And that means that anybody who gets down to 6 hit points or less is just going to die. So Cull the Weak on her is especially powerful already. So we're going to, again, invest one of our tadpoles in this. The other slightly underused thing about it is that if somebody dies, then all the enemies around it take 1d4 psychic damage as well, which is, again, nice, but it's really the not having to deal with the 1 hit point enemies anymore that she gets to, because if they drop to 6, they now just die. So let's go ahead and level her up. And she's going to follow a path that's very similar to what we've seen for our other paladins in our other playthroughs. However, she's going to be more like the paladin playthrough paladin than the bard playthrough paladin. And there's a reason for that. So the thing to know first is that she is... trying to find it. She's an Oath of Vengeance paladin. Okay, so she's going to be getting all of the Oath of Vengeance spells. So keep that in mind when you're going through any multi-classing. She's also a drow, which means she's going to be getting access to the racial drow spells as she levels up, regardless of her class. So again, keep that in mind while you're picking your spells and that sort of stuff as we go through. So first, our fighting style. We're going to pick Great Weapon Fighting as our first one. Basically, if we roll a 1 or 2 on damage, you re-roll it. It's just a straight increase in damage if you ever roll a 1. I'm not worried about preparing my spells yet. These are all paladin spells at this time, so we can deal with that later. Okay, now at level 3, I'm going to change. It doesn't really matter when I do this change. I'm just doing it here. But first, as a racial bonus, she's going to gain access to Fairy Fire. Fairy Fire is a great spell. And it is one of those concentration spells that she can use her concentrated blast ability to use. So giving everyone advantage against a group of enemies is very, very nice. And actually, I take that back. I'm going to stay with Paladin for now. I do want to make sure, before I do this,
all right.
I want to make sure I'm remembering this right. Yes, so we're level 8 now. Just wanted to make sure that I wasn't way behind and I was just level 7. So we're going to up again. We're going to go through Paladin for a little bit here so that we can take a look at make our spell selection for our multi-class a little bit easier later on. So we're going to get Vow of Enmity. Now, this is a great bonus action, channel Oath charge usage to give you advantage on attack rolls against an enemy. It's just incredibly useful for an Oath of Vengeance paladin to have. And as those spells, we're going to get Hunter's Mark. Again, a damage writer, which is very nice. Bane, iffy. So here's our first feat. Our first feat is going to be Great Weapon Master. We're going to focus on a two-handed Great Weapon build here for this Paladin for maximum damage output. And Great Weapon Master is going to help us do that. Again, prepared spells I'm not worried about. Level 5 for Paladin gets us a huge damage boost in a couple of different ways. The first is obviously extra attack. As a racial bonus, we gain Darkness as a spell. Okay? That's going to be incredibly useful for us because, again, we're going to be concentrating, or we're going to be focused on fighting in darkness in this playthrough. It makes so many things so much easier. So we're going to be going that way again. And then, as part of our O spells, we get Misty Step and Hold Person. And this is why I like kind of going through the Paladin level ups before I start looking at my multi-class, because this gives me the opportunity to see what spells I'm going to be getting at each one and not picking those spells when I go into my multi-class. So having Hold Person, Misty Step is incredibly useful. There's something else that we're going to look. We get access to Branding Smite. This is really overlooked in the game, but we're going to talk about it here in a minute. At Paladin level 6, you would get Aura of Protection, which is very, very nice as a bonus to saving throws. However, we're going to throw in a multi-class now, and that multi-class is going to be Warlock, of course. So, for our cantrips here, we're not going to focus on Blade Ward, we're going to focus on Bone Chill. I want her to be more offensive focused here. For a subclass, the Great Old One, getting access to Mortal Reminder for her is incredibly useful. And now for the spells, for this, we're going to pick Hex and Hellish Rebuke. Again, Helix, Hex, and or Hunter's Mark, which she also has access to, are her concentration spells that she's going to be under most of the time, which allows her to use her Concentrated Blast ability whenever I see fit to do it. So, but the damage riders are always very nice to do. Warlock level 2 is going to give us our Eldritch Invocations. And here, Agonizing Blast, always, just very, very useful, but Devil's Sight is what we want to focus on. Okay? So for here, being able to fight in darkness with this is what it gives us without having to have a piece of gear to do it for us. For our spells, doesn't really matter what we select in here. We're going to be kind of swapping this out a little bit. But Dissonant Whispers, if you can get it to land, is very good. To be able to frighten a creature at range is always nice. Our last level in Warlock here is going to get us our Pact. Okay, now for our spells, again, this is where it's useful to have gone through your racial and paladin level ups first, because you already have access to Hold Person, Misty Step, and Protection from Evil and Good. If you hadn't gone through the paladin level ups, you might decide to pick Misty Step here, and then you would get it for free as part of your paladin level up, and you wasted a choice of a spell slot here. Also, Darkness, we got it as part of a racial upgrade. It doesn't show an outline, which I don't like that the racial upgrades don't do that. It's only other class spell upgrades, which we got these from our paladin level ups. But Darkness, we don't want to select because we got it as part of our Drow heritage, so to speak. So now I have a choice of what do I want to do? Because most of the things I would want now, like Misty Step, Darkness, and or Hold Person, I don't need anymore. So this leaves us some options here. Mirror Image is very, very nice to be able to avoid that incoming damage. Invisibility is also great. Having another person who can cast it, other than my Bard, is very, very useful. However, I'm going to go with Shatter. Shatter is a great AoE thunder damaging spell that can knock people back. So I'm going to keep that. Pact of the Blade is the obvious choice here so that we can bind our weapons and use our charisma instead of our strength. We will be respecking her. I'll do it off stream just to redo her ability scores, so that we will dump strength and concentrate on charisma, dex, and constitution instead, and have our charisma be 18 so that we can then, like I say, get that extra bonus to hit and not have to worry about strength. As far as replacing the spell, there's not much in here I would want to replace right now. And now we level up our Bard. Now, the Bard choices here, I've been focused on the Bard to get the extra attack, but I want to keep focusing on Warlock because, again, I'm going to start fighting in darkness more. Okay, so my Eldritch Invocations, I'm going to take Repelling Blast and Devil's Sight here. I want to have somebody with the ability to knock somebody back with Repelling Blast. And then as far as my spells go, my bard doesn't really focus that much on damaging spells. She uses her actions more for direct combat related stuff. However, certain things can be very useful. I've already got concentration that I mostly utilize for Hex, so I don't want something concentration, so again, that's where Dissonant Whispers comes in here. Armor of Agathis is also really nice in that it gives you you don't have to concentrate on this, and you can throw it out there at the start of your long rest and have some ability to have some temporary hit points and that sort of stuff. But I'm going to replace Hellish Rebuke with Armor of Agathis. Okay, so that way I get both Armor of Agathis and I get Dissonant Whispers for me here. Astarion at monk level 4, and again, we're probably going to end up doing a respec here. The only reason that we took Rogue level 4 was to get us the feat for Tavern Brawler. What we really want to be now is Rogue level 3 and Monk level 5. But for right now, what this gets is obviously an additional key point. It gets us slow fall, so we gain resistance to falling damage, which is meh. Level 5 at Monk is where Monk really takes off. So level 8 is a big bonus for us, being able to get to 3 Rogue, 5 Monk, because then you get Stunning Strike, which is just OP. It just ruins the game. But here, as far as our feat goes in this, remember, we've already taken Tavern Brawler down here. There are several others that go along with this that can be very, very nice. For us, it's going to be Alert, though. You absolutely want to focus on Alert for your second feat that you take. And Shadowheart leveling up her Tempest Domain Cleric, she's going to get Divine Strike Thunder. So it's basically free damage that gets thrown onto all of her weapon strikes that she makes. There's no reason not to use it when it pops up and says add it onto it. You just want to do it, especially with her Reverberation Illuminating Orb build. Whenever she does thunder damage, it procs more Illuminating Orb and more Reverberation, so this synchronizes very, very well. And again, for her, we have more options. We went with Ability Improvement last time to get her Wisdom up to 18. For her, the Alert feat is also really, really good. Having something else in here as well, like Tough, or Warcaster, or something like that. Even Resilient, if you have an odd ability score somewhere, can be very nice. But again, for her second feat, it's either going to be Alert or Ability Improvement. One of the two. I normally try and focus on Alert earlier on in the game, if I can, and then Ability Improvement later on to do it. So again, Alert for her is a great feat to have. And now we're going to immediately talk to Minthara again.
Clear. You wish to consult me? I was the Absolute's dagger. I remember every throat that it held me to, and every drop of blood it forced me to spill. I take no responsibility for the lives I took. I did nothing in the Absolute's name. I was merely a weapon that it wielded.
Okay, that's a bit of revisionist history and some probably justification to herself on her part. She's a very deep character, and your interactions with her take on a different tone, just like the ones with Astarion do.
They were not my actions. You have been protected from the worst of the Absolute's influence. Understanding what was done to me is beyond you.
And you can see what I mean. If you tell her to take responsibility for her actions, she has no interest in doing that at all. She honestly, and probably to a bit truthfully, believes that all of her actions were being controlled by the Absolute. That's probably not the case, but you're not going to change her viewpoint.
You wish to consult me?
So you get disapprovals like we saw there.
I fought at his side once, shortly after my conversion. Before the battle, he was everything a general should be. A charismatic leader with a brilliant strategic mind. And when the fighting began, he led his troops from the front and cut through the enemy like a scythe through stalks. Blows and arrows rained down on him, and before long, his face was a mask of blood. But he did not fall. He did not even falter. When we won the day, Ketheric's armor was bent and shattered, but his flesh was unmarked. I have lived long enough to know that few things are impossible in this world. Ketheric's power is a rare thing, though. I have never seen its like. The necromancer Balthazar is Ketheric's chief advisor. One who has mastery over the dead may well be able to help the living cheated. We should ransack his chambers and see what secrets he keeps for the great general.
Now, I promise we're going to get to combat today. The first part of this, though, is a bunch of stuff that y'all have never seen on one of our playthroughs. So, we're going to go through, finish her dialogue, then we're going to immediately head back to Moonrise, and we're going to gear up with a couple of the vendors, and then the last half of today's episode, I promise, is going to be us walking around and getting into probably 3, maybe 4 fights. So, I just ask for a little patience.
I took up my oath long ago, when I swore bloody vengeance against any who defied Lolth. Now, I myself have sinned against the Spider Queen. Though my faith is shattered, my oath endures. I am sworn to destroy all those who serve the Absolute. It is not noble, it is necessary. If we do not destroy the cultists, they will destroy everything. We are all that stands between this world and annihilation. Then speak. Not directly. My memories were not removed. They were obscured by the Absolute's voice, by its presence. The tadpole is a conduit for that voice, not its origin. And while the prism protects us, the Absolute cannot reach us. As for the tadpoles themselves, for the moment I do not believe they are malevolent. They are incubating within our brain matter, not feeding on it. Is there a reason you chose me as your confidant in this matter? As you should. But I am not sure that I can trust you. There are those within Menzoberranzan that we call Khalith Carthan. Those driven by blood. They are the mad, lost to all reason, and subservient to nobody. Even Lolth, malicious and brutal as she is, cannot abide them. They kill, and cannot say why. So they are destroyed for the greater good. When you speak to me of yearning and urges to kill, I fear you are like them, controlled by a bloodlust that you do not comprehend. Killing is necessary. It is good that you can take pleasure in it. Just be sure that your urges do not lead you astray. We have enemies enough for you to sate your lusts on. We do not need to make more, because you indulge your every murderous whim.
So again, a very deep character here. There's a very funny set of dialogues here, which we're not going to go through today. I'll save it for tomorrow. About this, she will give you thoughts on every one of the companions in camp, and some of them are hilarious. But again, we'll leave that for now. We'll go talk to Karlach.
Time to press
Bring
ahead.
her back in the party, because she, like I say, is going to be much more useful for what we're going to be doing.
Just what I need.
We will level her up.
What's on your mind? You know I'm up for it, but your party's a little full. Now we're talking.
I'd love to, thanks.
Okay, now level 8 Barbarian for her gets us our second feat. And again, we're focused on Tavern Brawler here for her. Her strength is the main source of her damage output. That gets added in with Tavern Brawler all the time. Now, again, Alert is an amazing, amazing feat here. I'm going to want to get her strength upped to 20 at some point here. But for now, I'm fine with it being at 18. I want to move her up in the initiative order. Okay, so now we're going to leave camp. And we're right outside Moonrise. We're going to head right back in because there's a very important set of vendors in here that can help us improve our combat power quite a bit. So the first one is Lann Tarv here, and for him you're going to have to pass a check. So I'm going to leave myself in shapeshifted form for Mark of the Shifter while I have this. Actually, no, I'm not, because I don't want to have to keep remembering to do it. Yeah, I don't want to have to keep remembering to do it. I'll be able to pass the check. If you want some extra flavor here, and some extra items, have Karlach in your party when you talk to Lann Tarv.
Seems like a good moment to talk.
Well, Flo didn't tell a lie. She said you'd find me, and here you are. Karlach, isn't it?
Now there's a name I'd hope never to hear again. What was Flo doing here?
Didn't think to quiz her about her business.
Florenta the Garotta. A Cambion I knew back in Avernus. She was the closest thing I had to a friend. That said, she would have choked the life out of me if I ever turned my back on her. The fact that she knows where I am, or where I might be going, doesn't exactly delight me. Maybe. Probably. I don't know. She's a half-devil. Impossible to read. I wouldn't have given her the time of day, but even I needed a laugh once in a while. What can I say? The bitch had good jokes.
Enough chatter. Your friend gave me 3 soul coins, said I could sell them if I wanted. But if I kept them for you, she'd consider it a favor owed.
Soul coins, huh? This could come in handy.
Sure. But she did have a condition. For every coin you take, you've got to hear the story of the soul trapped inside.
There you have it. Flo came all this way just to try to make me feel like shit. Clever use of her time. Memorized a bunch of sad stories on her behalf, did you?
Didn't need to. Your Flo did some devil woo-woo and stuck 'em in my head. Couldn't forget now if I wanted to. You want the coins or not? First coin's got the soul of a woman named Maverick. She was born to a cruel mother, and a violent father, and 3 evil brothers, all named Baldur. She never knew a day of love in all her life. When she was a girl of 15, she sold her soul to Tiamat in exchange for someone who would love her unconditionally. She got what she asked for. A fellow named Clint, destined to be her soulmate. Struck by a cart and died a few moments after clapping eyes on our Mavery. Poor guy. The scud of her soul is yours now.
Thanks, I guess.
Sure you will. This'n has got the soul of a man named Frakes. Lived in a village near Neverwinter. Hit hard by the worst hunger in 1,000 years. Frakes called out for help. Prayed for his children to have meat to eat. Zariel answered. Made old Frakes grow flesh upon flesh after flesh. His wee ones had all the meat they could stomach.
He should have known. Better to die 1,000 deaths than let Zariel into your life.
Whatever you need to tell yourself. Last one's got the soul of a little boy named Ongir. 8 years old. He liked playing in the sun with his friends. That's all I know.
That's all?
That's all. Oh, and this slip of scratch.
Well, thanks, Flo. Hearing a bunch of desperate horror has ruined my day, which I suppose was the point.
You got 3 soul coins out of the bargain, didn't you? I'd quit whinging if I were you. I did my part. That means our business is done. Unless you've got actual gold to hand.
Okay, now we're gonna not look at his wares yet. We receive soul coins. Now, we haven't looked at soul coins very much in this playthrough yet, and there's a reason for that. Soul coins, if you're Karlach, well, the first thing is you can sell them. They're worth 700 gold apiece, which is a lot. However, you don't want to use them for that. Soul coins are a limited resource in the game. There are only 14 of them throughout the entire playthrough. They last until long rest, and Karlach can consume them. Okay, now what they do is they give you the Infernal Fury condition. Her weapon and unarmed attacks deal an additional 1d4 fire damage when she is raging, or when her hit points drop below 25%, and they last until long rest. So it's something that you can take when you wake up, and then you can just have it active. It's one of those pre-adventure buffs that you do as soon as you wake up. However, like I say, you only have 14 of them. So you want to save them for rests where you know you're going to be getting into an especially difficult set of combat or something like that. Now, we're actually going to take one here just so we can illustrate it, but we're going to be saving most of them for later on in Act 2 or in Act 3. And hey, Eric, welcome. Oh boy, yeah, I know that feeling. I know that feeling. Thank you for being here, though. I appreciate it. Thank you for putting up with my absence. So again, we're going to take one of these here in a little bit, and you'll kind of see that. But you want to back out of the conversation with Lann, because you want to have your main trading character go into the conversation with them again.
If you have coin, then show it.
Because now you have some more options here, and it doesn't matter which one of these you pick.
Ha! Bark, bark, like a warg pup you are. The Absolute needs warriors for her crusade. But I see only weaklings in this place.
And this option here is now new.
Prove it! Who's singing your name?
And now we have Bard options here. We have a Bard Persuasion option, which gives us advantage, which is definitely the way that we want to go here. Because the DC is 16. So we'll add in Guidance, not from me, because I don't want to lose Hex, but from Shadowheart. That's a big number. I like the 33s.
Normally talk like that's empty. But there's something behind those words of yours. I can feel it. Want anything from my stash? You pay less than the rest.
And now you can go trade, because that ups his attitude to 100. So now we are getting the best possible outcomes for his trade prices, and that's important because now things are scaling up a bit. There's a bunch of stuff that we want to buy here in Act 2. There are 5 different vendors here that all sell, 4 of them all sell very important things. One of them sells one important thing, but that's a lot of gold, and especially on honor mode, something like the Halberd of Vigilance is 1,500. Something like the Enraging Heart Garb is 1,200. Things are now really, really expensive. This would be 2,500 gold if you didn't have his his attitude up to 100. So yeah, things can get very, very expensive here. So the Halberd of Vigilance, it's basically like Sentinel to a lesser degree, in that you gain advantage on attack rolls that you make with a reaction. That's very similar to what happens with Sentinel, also with parts of Polar Master. But Sentinel weapon gains you a +1 bonus to initiative rolls and advantage on perception ability checks. It's nice to have a weapon that does that, especially if you're two-handed wielding to do it. The Halberd of Vigilance also does an additional 1d4 force damage, which is again one of the least resisted forms of damage in the game. So for a two-handed wielder, especially for your Polar Master types, the Halberd of Vigilance is a definite step up for you to take. For us right now, that's not what we're doing, simply because the only two-handed weapon wielder we have is going to be Minthara, and I have a much different use for her two-handed weapons at that time. So we'll kind of deal with that a little bit later. Normal +1 weapons here until you get down to the Slicing Short Sword. When the wielder attacks with advantage, the attack inflicts bleeding. Now remember, we took Bual's Benediction for most of our main party members, who get additional bonuses to bleeding targets. So now with the Slicing Short Sword, you can inflict bleeding on any target that you would like. Swapping Falar Alluve out for this is a slight drop in upper end damage, and I lose the ability to shriek and sing, of course. But if I can attack with advantage, which I can in darkness a lot, I can inflict bleeding, and with my Bard's slash ability for her Bardic Inspirations, I can inflict it on multiple targets and give everyone else the opportunity to attack those bleeding targets with the bonus. So it's something that I'm going to pick up here. The Fistbreaker Helm gives you a +1 bonus to spell save DC. And Seldom Caught Unawares gives you a +1 bonus to initiative rolls. Very nice for your spellcaster types. So something, again, I'm going to pick up. It's just not something that I'm going to utilize right now, but for Gale or Will, it's a very good earlier game helmet to have to get the +1 bonus to spell save DC. The Enraging Heart Garb for Barbarians. While raging, the wearer generates 2 turns of Wrath. Wrath is a straight bonus damage to your melee weapons, and every turn you generate 2 turns of it. So you always are continually going up in damage by +1 every turn. It also gets you Constitution +2, up to a max of 20. Now this is clothing, so you have an armor class of 10, but for Barbarians they gain unarmored defense if they're not wearing any armor at all. It doesn't make up for the difference. Barbarians are medium armor qualified or proficient, so with scale mail +2, I think that's a 16. Compared with, and then you get a +2 from dexterity. Here you get your +2 from dexterity, but you drop from 16 to 10. Your wisdom modifier, or her Constitution modifier to go along with it, doesn't make up for that. It only makes up +3. So you lose 3 armor class in doing it to basically gain more damage and more Constitution. The last couple of things in here, the Sentinel Shield is important. Again, a +3 bonus to initiative rolls and advantage on perception ability checks. This is basically alert because there aren't many encounters that give you surprise, or where you are surprised. But it gains you a +3 bonus to initiative rolls, which is great, and advantage on perception ability checks. So if you're keeping this constantly equipped, it's a way for you to up your ability to find those traps and things like that. Very, very useful, and allows you, in the case of Shadowheart, to maybe not take alert right now, but instead to take ability improvement instead. And last is Gloves of the Duelist. While only holding 1 weapon in your main hand and nothing in your free hand, you gain a +2 bonus to melee weapon and attack rolls. This is the same thing as the fighting style, dueling, that goes along with it. This allows you to get it without having to take a fighter level or a bard, College of Swords or Valor dip to be able to do it. For us, it's not all that important right now for us to spend the gold on it. So here, let's go ahead and get rid of this garbage that we are carrying around. And we'll see how much of this we can offset. And I'm kind of just taking a little extra time and looking through here and make sure I don't accidentally pick anything I don't want to. I believe there's a short bow +1 in here somewhere. Yep, there it is. And the Yankee short sword I don't need. Okay, so I offset 1,000 gold there out of this, so which is a huge savings for us, because again that would have left us with 500 gold here. And there's a couple other things that we want to go look at.
Slaughter well, true soul.
And now here,
Mind my step.
we want to go talk to Roah.
I need a quick word.
And yes, we are encumbered. We'll deal with all that when we start divvying these items out here in a second.
Ah, a new face come to bask in the light of the Absolute. How can I be of service, true soul? Of course. Just before some godless lunatic purged the place of every innocent soul. A pity neither of us saw what happened. The guilty here hears blame in every breath. But you're among friends here, true soul. Look around. All manner of beasties united against the enemies of the Absolute. Quite a god to bring them all together. And quite a fool who draw their ire. More concerned that your business might be bad for my business. So don't go kicking the hive while there's still some honey to be had.
Okay, now Roah, remember, we upped her attitude in Act 1. So her attitude remains upped here in Act 2. Now, Roah obviously has something that we want, and that is the Drake Throat Glaive. This is a straight damage boost to whoever we're using the Draconic Elemental weapon on, and we're going to take that. We need to get like 13 more gold, which is why I have a couple of Dark Justiciar things, if I remember. I do. So I need to get like another 13 gold or something. Actually, I can get rid of... I was going to save these just for RP purposes, but there's no real need. Actually, you know, I'm rebelling against that. Let's go look and see. And I need 3 more gold here. I was going to keep the water for a specific reason, but I won't. Okay, so we're going to move the Drake Throat Glaive over. That's going to leave us with no gold at all. Now, as far as the rest of her inventory, the Blooded Great Axe is situational. Again, one of those 50% hit points or less that you can do utilizing the Tadpole ability to sacrifice your health for another to put you exactly at 50% and then have all of these things trigger. I believe that we actually still have one more. Yep, the Cap of Wrath. So you can certainly stock up on all of these 50% hit point or less items, and when you use that Tadpole ability, you get a serious set of buffs to go along with it. It's just not a build that we're focused on right now. The Neremisser is a hand crossbow that does force damage. Again, it also allows you to cast Magic Missile, which is okay, I guess, once per long rest. But the Neremisser doing force damage is what's huge here, because again, force is almost never resisted, and this doesn't do piercing damage like crossbows do. This does straight force damage for all of its damage, which makes it really nice. So we're not focused on a build to do that. Normally the Astarion dual wielding hand crossbow build is where you go, but since we're going monk route, the Titan string bow for him is much better because of the damage output that it can do with Tavern Brawler. Or I mean with his high strength. The Armor of Devotion is also here, and here's where you start to see the number difference. That is 6,080 gold with a +9 persuasion and 100% attitude. This would be almost 15,000 gold by itself if you just came up here to buy it. Now, true, all it gives you is a way to replenish one of your oath charges, which is what Eternal Devotion does. But it's just an illustrative purposes. We are not going to buy this thing. But it tells you, it kind of shows you where we are with our gold and how you need to be hoarding it, because it goes away so fast. We do have some in camp still. The next thing here is the Sharpened Snare Cuirass. It allows you to add your full dexterity modifier to your armor class, which is nice. Creatures have disadvantage on saving throws when resisting your attacks and spells that inflict restrained. So this is for your ensnaring strike rangers and that sort of stuff. This medium armor is a very, very good option to have, or with your druids that again use ensnaring vines and that sort of stuff. This can be very, very useful. The last two things are the Poisoner's Ring, which gives you the virulent venom. It makes a target vulnerable to poison damage once per long rest. Situational at best. I'm sorry, last three items. The Ring of Spiteful Thunder. When the wearer deals thunder damage to a reverberating creature, it becomes dazed unless it succeeds a Constitution saving throw. Now again, with reverberation being part of Shadowheart's build, and her ability on an attack to put Wrathful Thunder and do thunder damage to a target, she can daze whole groups of enemies now. And daze, again, remember, removes their dexterity bonus to armor class, and they have disadvantage on wisdom saving throws, which makes them so much easier to land debilitating spells and attacks on. And the last is the Gloves of Crushing. Now these we definitely want to come back and get. The wearer gains a +1 bonus to unarmed attack rolls, and their unarmed attacks deal an additional 2 bludgeoning damage. This is a straight 2 damage with a +1 bonus to attack rolls. So a 1d4 bonus, like from the Cinder Strike gloves or something like that Astarion may be using, or the Gloves of Cinder and Sizzle, that 1d4 fire damage is an average of 2.5 additional damage. So +2 is a little bit less than that, but not enough to really make a difference in the overall game. But you get a +1 bonus to unarmed attack rolls, which you don't get here. So it's something we are definitely going to come back and pick up to utilize in our playthrough. But for now, we just want to take the Drakethroat Glaive, and we are done.
An honor, true soul.
And now we're going to kind of distribute these items real quick. The Fistbreaker is going to go to Will. Enraging Heart Garb is going to go here. You can see Karlach has a 17 armor class with Scale Mail +1. That's going to drop to 12. Okay, and the reason for that is because the Helm of Autonomy is light armor. So if we take that off, it goes back up to 16. Okay, so she gets her Constitution bonus, which is a +4 onto this. That is still 2 less than you would get with Scale Mail +2. So you sacrifice a little bit of armor class here to gain additional Constitution bonus. She went from 16 to 18, which got her 1 additional armor class as well as the additional hit points. Okay, and then she's going to throw Wrath on top of that while she's raging. For Shadowheart, we're going to give up the Glowing Shield and add in the Sentinel Shield. We're going to leave the Blood of Lathander on her right now. I would prefer to be using the Shining Staver of Skulls, but in Act 2, the blind ability from this is very, very useful for anything that's Shadow Cursed. The Drakethroat Glaive she will also carry around with her. And the Slicing Short Sword, I'm going to replace. I lost damage, like I say, at the top end of that, from Valar Alluve, but again, I'm going to utilize the bleed ability here of this as we go. So let's head out, and we'll go get into some trouble. Now, on my way in, I don't know if I did any other. I did not. So we're going to make our way out of here on foot. And again, we're going to be very careful walking out here because we don't want to get into this fight yet. Karnas has legendary actions. And we don't want to get into a fight, but what I want to do is try and get a little bit closer here.
In the dark.
So I can see one of them. Nope, you still can't see their movement speed, Lord Henry. It's still gone. You can see it for your party members and for non-hostile NPCs, but for everybody else it still appears to be broken. Anybody that's red bordered still doesn't work. So I wish it worked. And we're gonna head down the stairs over here like we came in. Once we're down the stairs, we'll come out of hiding and we can take off.
Breathe
All right.
deep and move.
And we're gonna make our way back toward the very start of things. Because again, we're not going to be exploring the west side of the river yet. We're going to go back and explore the east side. And we're going to start with a couple of fights just to our left here. Okay, I believe we've already done all of our explorations over here. That wooden or that heavy chest should have already been searched. Yes, it was. Okay, so here's where we are. We want to start kind of heading down this direction here. Okay, and now we're going to split our group here, and this is where that shield that Shadowheart is using comes in handy when she has advantage on perception checks.
Got to press on.
There's a perception check, and again, you can see that it's a DC 10, but she rolled an 18, and she has advantage on that check. So it makes it a lot easier with her high wisdom to be able to find these things when she's rolling with advantage.
Careful, I might.
And now Astarion, just to be on the safe side. Where is the silver amulet at? Or the silver pendant? Somebody's got it. Oh, I'm wearing it. Nope. Really don't like that double click thing. Okay, there we go. Now Astarion can disarm this. Okay, now in here you can read a little bit about some interrogations that the Harpers were trying to do to find out more information about what was happening with the Shadow Curse and Ketheric and that sort of stuff. Black Oleander, and then if you hold left alt, you can see there's a traveler's chest that's hidden underneath this bench. Really easy to miss unless you're using left alt.
Hardly a challenge.
Oh, our first nat 20. Nice. And in here is the Ring of Twilight. So you gain a +1 bonus to armor class while you're obscured. You're going to be obscured a lot here in this act, and I'm going to give up the fetish here for the Ring of Twilight. Oh, and I didn't have any of my thief gear on for any of that. Oh well. So that's going to gain him a +1 bonus when he's obscured. Now, obviously, we're in a light source here, but you'll see how that pops in and out as he moves around throughout here.
Quick rummage.
Okay, and now we're getting into this area here, and we want to be a little careful here. We have a quest marker here. And that quest marker is from Investigate the Selûnite Resistance. We needed to find an abandoned potter's workshop. Perhaps we should look for it. That's where we're going right now, but we want to approach this a little differently.
Looking ahead.
So first, actually, before I do this,
Can't risk being an open view.
I'm going to take my bard up here.
These boots have seen everything.
And I actually can't remember where this one is at. So let's actually not do that, because I can't remember how the facing
Light on my feet.
works on that fourth enemy there. So we're going to go around this way. Because I'm afraid that we aren't going to be able to see them, because I think we might have failed all of our perception checks already for this. And that means we may have to do this fight in a way that can be a little dangerous. But we'll go attempt it and see.
I'm ready. Quiet as a mouse. Need to tread softly.
Okay, good. She found them. And again, they're perception checks, so sending her out there to have advantage on those checks is very, very useful. If you do not perceive this ambush, you will be surprised by it. Surprise in this combat is horrifically bad unless you have a serious way to avoid the attacks. So you have a high armor class or something like that. Like I say, things can get really, really bad with this very quickly. What you've seen is that there are 4 Meezels. Now, Meezels, they have a lot of hit points. First of all, for level 5 with 88 hit points, again, honor mode, they don't really tell you much about them. They have a really high dexterity. They roll really high in the initiative order. And overcoming that is a big deal here. So you are able to surprise them. However, they have a bunch of detection cones that kind of overlap each other down here. And this is why I didn't want to walk up this way, is because there is one here that's facing this way. It's kind of what I thought. So if I'd have walked up here, I might have walked into that detection cone. So the other thing that they can do is something called a garrote. It's an ability that is not shown in that ability list there, but they all have ropes in their inventory, and they can use it to strangle you, and they can use it to teleport you. They can do something called a shadow teleport, and it works all the way across the map. They can move dozens of meters with it. You'll see it here in a second. And that garrote ability allows them to drag you around with them and cause damage while they're doing it. It also doesn't allow you to move, and it causes damage over time as it goes. Now, it's kind of like a spell, and that you can damage them and interrupt it. But, like I say, it's a little hairy. So how we want to approach this is we want to kind of drag them back into this area. Okay, we want to get them somewhere where it's lit up. Okay, not somewhere where you can see my icon. It changed to the empty sun symbol. Here it's the full sun symbol. We want to drag them back here and have them fight around me in the light. And there's a reason for that, because right now they're in light down here, so I can get a sneak attack. But once they're in these dark areas, you get disadvantaged trying to attack them because it will say too dark. So you want to try and fight in the light as much as you can. So we're going to go ahead and start this off with a sneak attack and hope that we roll well in initiative. We've got the alert trait, so hopefully that will let us roll first so that we can get our attack in and then move back here, and they will all come right to me. Okay, and actually, do I have alert on my bard? I do. That would actually be much better to do. I'd lose the sneak attack bonus, but my armor class is so much higher. It will help me avoid these attacks, because I want to give them a round of attacks. I know that sounds counterintuitive, but trust me. So I'm going to move up just to the point where I can cast X. Okay, and this should get me a surprise round.
First step is the hardest.
Okay, it didn't.
Don't want to draw any attention.
It did, it just didn't bring me into combat for some reason. You saw the surprise round, it just didn't trigger combat, I guess because I was too far away. So I rolled first, which is good. Now I want to move back here into
catch a break.
the light. I'm actually going to... I forgot to make my second attack here. Can I still make an attack from here? I can. It's a low chance to hit, but I don't want to... I want to stay in the light. So I'm going to sacrifice my second attack and let them come to me. And they all will. You can see how far they can shadow teleport. That one chose not to. He just chose to dash, which is unfortunate. Oh, there it is. Okay. I want them all to shadow teleport. That's close enough. So I know two of them here are in the light at least. Now I'm going to start this off again with my slashing flourish with my short sword of slicing, and we'll see if we can get bleed on these two. Okay, so oh, I don't have advantage. That's right, because I'm not in darkness. Duh. That's my fault.
Don't burn yourself.
Okay, we're going to take Karlach.
Halfling essence.
We're going to move Karlach up this ladder. And up on the roof. And now Karlach has a great vantage point with which to start throwing things. And I forgot to pick up some javelins or something when we were in there. I'll have her throw this dagger to start. Can do that instead. I need to remember to pick some javelins up for her so she can start off combat not with the returning pike.
Good idea, Karlach.
Okay. So I'm going to get her into combat. Astarion. Actually, Shadowheart first. I'm going to do the same thing.
Off I go.
I'm going to get Shadowheart over here in the light a little bit. And have her throw a guiding bolt down here on one of them. And see if we can get our radiating orbs out. Perfect. So now everybody's lit up. Because for Astarion to get sneak attacks, he cannot have disadvantage. And that means they need to be lit up, because if they're too dark... I don't know if I can illustrate it here. No, I can't. Not against my own party members. Okay, so here I have advantage to offset the target outside normal range. But I can get him in range. I know I can, because I just did this yesterday. It's just where it comes from. Oh, I know I can do it from somewhere up here. I'm just not going to mess with it, because it's offsetting right now. So, actually, if I'm going to do that... Sorry. If I'm not going to play with it, I'm going to put him down here. I'd prefer to get him into this fight a different way, but... I don't know if I can get around behind this Meezel or not. Doesn't look like it. He's kind of clogging things up. Let's see if I can climb up this. I can. Alright. So we'll start this off with a Flurry of Blows topple. Now everybody should be in combat here. So... who's got Hex? He does. Why am I not able to get them both? That's weird. Well, I'm not going to waste it if I can't get them both. There's the Garrote. It missed. Another one missed. He's frightened and skipped his turn. And there's the Shadow Teleport. Like I say, they can teleport all over this map. Okay, so now in here again, we're going to go to work. Okay, and we're going to hold that invisibility. Even though we haven't used our action yet, we're going to hold it.
I got this.
Now, for Karlach, we have some options here. Normally, I would Frenzy here, but I can shove this one all the way back down there, and that's going to cause some serious fall damage. So that took off half his hit points. And now let's start throwing the returning pike. What do we have? 37? Can probably kill him.
Easy.
He's got 9. Let's hold that. Can do much better damage against all of them.
My faith will protect me.
Now let's see if we can get Shadowheart to do that additional 9 damage here. So he's prone. No, he's not prone. Let's see. Oh yeah, I need to redo her cantrips. Oh, 80% chance. She rolled a 3.
I can't even catch my breath.
Should have applied Hex to start. Oh no, I didn't. He just died. Okay, now he's either going to attack me, or he's going to shadow teleport up there. Perfect. One of them attacking me with the high armor class. I don't care if he knocks Astarion out of invisibility here. Yeah, he didn't. He saved against it. Nice. So much damage output. Between Karlach throwing 30-ish hit points every time she throws, and Astarion dealing out 60-ish damage between his 2 bonus actions and his action, it's just it's a lot of DPS there.
I have such a headache.
Okay, we do need to get our key points back and our inspirations.
Shouldn't have wished to live in more interesting times. Time to get going.
And now you can search the measles here. And again, they all have a rope on them that they use for their garroting ability. Okay, and like I say, what I should do is head back to Moonrise to pick up a couple of javelins, but I'm going to kind of forgo that for now and kind of continuing our exploration out here just in the interest of giving y'all some more action rather than me just spending some more time back at Moonrise. So a couple of things, we did have a couple of perception checks that we passed. One of them was for the measles. The other one...
Let's be quick.
...is... for a... loose brick here.
There's no time to waste.
Which I could swear we passed the perception check for. There it is. It's just hard to see. There's like 2 little pixels on it to find it. There's a movable brick here. This has a key to the potter's chest in it.
How delicious. Let's move.
Okay, now here in the potter's room, there are a few things that you can look at. Nothing really horribly exciting in here. Most of the open top vases, however you want to say it, don't have anything in them. It's the closed topped ones that normally tend to have some items. So like these might have some items in them. Like those. But the open topped ones never will. And then down here around the corner, you see the potter's chest up here.
Certainly.
Okay, now a high strength character can jump up there. That's going to use the potter's chest key that you found. And this gives you the luminous gloves and a note. The note, again, talks about more of a worshiper of Selûne and using these artifacts in the fight against Shar. The luminous gloves.
Wits and blades always sharp.
When the wearer deals radiant damage, the target receives 2 turns of radiating orb. So that goes along with a bunch of other things that we have. So that proc radiating orb. So the Holy Lance Helm when they miss. The luminous armor, whenever I deal radiant damage, it's going to proc radiating orb, 2 turns of it on anybody around. And now with the luminous gloves, I can deal an additional 2 turns of radiating orb. Now what I'm sacrificing here is reverberation, but I'm still getting reverberation from inflicting radiating orb from the boots of Stormy Clamor. I'm just not getting as many stacks of it. I'm sacrificing reverberation stacks for radiating orb stacks by changing these out.
Where am I? What's going on?
Okay. And now I want to do something. She has the pike on her back.
What's next, I wonder?
Okay, so that's going to make the returning pike now an elemental weapon. And Karlach is now doing an additional 1d4 cold damage with it. In addition to everything else she's doing. And while we're here, let's have her take a soul coin just to illustrate what these things do. Because now all of her weapon attacks while she's raging are going to do an additional 1d4 fire damage.
I have a lot on my mind. And, well, in it.
Walk in death.
Okay, now for this, I'm going to move my party kind of down here into this corner. I'm going to go in here with my bard again. And since I'm not utilizing darkness all the time now, I'm going to swap this back out. Put everybody in hiding, break my group, take my bard in here.
Be on my way.
And we can use Speak with the Dead here.
The corpse regards you lifelessly.
Unslaked hunger, unquenched thirst. Trapped shadow mastiffs, repels them with flame. Spell
spell's power wanes, you can ask no more questions.
Okay, and that is true, Lord Henry, for the first round of combat. Hunter's Mark, remember, to reapply Hunter's Mark takes a bonus action. So if I use it in the first round, then that first round of combat, I can gain the additional 1d6 piercing damage on whoever I cast it on. However, that prevents me from using my bonus action to frenzy. And then once I am frenzied, I gain an additional enraged throw action using a bonus action, which is a full damage attack. So yes, for that first round, I could do more damage with Hunter's Mark, but then after that, I would lose a significant amount of damage if I'm going to be raging. If I'm not going to be raging, then you're absolutely right. Hunter's Mark makes a lot of sense to be able to use it and reapply it, but as soon as I have that bonus action where I can do a full damage attack, Hunter's Mark becomes useless. But yes, very, very right if I'm not planning to rage. So here I'm going to...
May the gods take you first.
Remove the torches. And again, I'm going to temporarily pick up this pitchfork and throw that to Karlach. Now I have one left, and I leave this one till last for a specific reason. I'm going to move around behind these barrels. I'm going to destroy the standing torch, and I'm going to immediately go into hiding.
Out of sight, out of mind.
What did I... Geez, I missed? Okay.
If everyone else minds their business, I'll be fine.
Okay. And that brings in the Shadow Mastiffs. Okay, now I'm in hiding here, so I guess it would be... Now we can illustrate this. So I'm attacking with advantage, so I'm going to go in here and make this first strike. Okay, and that gets a surprise round for me. Now there's only 3 showing. 1, 2, and 3. This 4th one is actually not in combat yet. It's weird. I'm not entirely sure why that is. Okay, but now it's bleeding, and with Buwal's Benediction, I have advantage on attack rolls against bleeding creatures. Okay, and that goes for everybody who has Buwal's Benediction. So now all the attacks against him for the next 2 turns are going to be made with advantage, which is incredibly nice to have. And again, I'm going to move into the light here. But I'm going to bring this other one into combat.
Don't waste a
That's what I really want to do. Because he is not surprised. He's frightened, so he's locked in place.
Ready for some good news.
So now Karlach.
Light as air.
Okay, there's no high ground that she can get to, I don't think. Yeah, she can't jump up to any of that. So she's going to throw the pitchfork. And there you see the 2 dark disadvantage. And that's what prevents Astarion from getting sneak attacks a lot of times. So that's why fighting in the light or inside your own manufactured darkness is so useful against people that are enemies that can't deal with it.
Easy.
Okay, she has She rolled well in initiative, so now she can throw the returning pike.
My little trick.
Okay. So we're gonna move Karlach right up next to
Close
him.
ranks.
And we're gonna rage. Okay, and again, that used our bonus action. Alright, so we wouldn't be able to reapply Hunter's Mark or anything like that because we wanted to use it for that. Okay, so now all of our attacks while we're raging are going to do an additional 1d4 fire damage. You can see that reflected in the returning pike now.
Something smells tasty.
So Astarion, now that he's threatened, it doesn't matter if I have disadvantage or advantage or not because he's going to be threatened. That gets him invisibility. And Astarion can just run across the entire flippin' map.
Yes, here.
And he still has a quarter of his movement speed left. Now, I don't care about the invisibility as much here, so I'm going to try and topple this one. Because, again, I still have a surprise round going on. And I'm going to swap this out for the Shining Staver of Skulls. See if I can get this attack without triggering her in that detection cone. I think I can. I can. So procced Radiating Orb. That's now 4 stacks of Radiating Orb, 2 of Reverberation. I'm going to throw in Divine Strike Thunder. Okay, just for free additional thunder damage on top of that. Now, if I had the gloves still on, that would proc 2 more turns of Reverberation, but I'd only have 2 turns of Radiating Orb.
Survival is all that matters.
Nope, go back.
What now?
Oh no, he's still okay. I need her there.
Watch this.
Okay, so now all my attacks are going to have advantage because of Buwal's Benediction. You can see it up there. But before I do that, let's see if we can get Karlach just to
Heading out.
finish off, maybe? A couple of these, because she has 3 full attacks now. And this is what I meant with Enraged Throw being a bonus action. This is a full strength attack.
This'll help.
And that just flat out killed me. Now I have 2 more. And let's focus on the Mastiff Alpha.
No choice but to keep going. What path lies before me?
Oh, and I would miss. And then follow with a crit. Okay.
I missed this.
Now only 9 hit points left. This is easy peasy. So we're walking through some of this combat here, which is good. It's good that we're making light work of some of this. It means, you know, a lot of our planning is working out here, which is what you want to see.
I'll just help myself.
The Lost Backpack again here has the journal of the True Soul up there. That, you know, learns about them traveling through the Shadowlands here and basically not having a good time of it. Again, as usual, like I said, in honor mode, we're picking up everything. And here you get the Shadow Cloaked Ring. It wears weapon and unarmed attacks deal an additional 1d4 damage against lightly or heavily obscured creatures and creatures made of shadow. So, we're gonna have enemies that are obscured a lot here in this game. So right now I'm gaining +1 armor class while obscured. Now I can gain additional bonus damage against enemies that are obscured. I'm going to have to give up a little movement, but not too worried about that. With the amount of movement that Astarion has, giving up that additional 6 meters, because remember it's doubled when you dash, when I can still move 30 meters is not really a big deal for me. And again, I'm not too worried about him doing melee attacks against obscured enemies, because even with the 2 dark disadvantage that goes along with it, with Tavern Brawler adding +5 or +6 to hit, it offsets that. Now we're going to continue back toward where we began. We're going to go open up this little section of the map. We don't really have to. We're going to kind of avoid this area a little bit, and we're going to head over towards here. And we're going to get into one more big fight here. Okay, now this is the last light in. We're not going to go there yet. We're going to go there next week. There's a lot of stuff for us to do there, and we don't really want to kind of get into it right this second. So now we remember where you were. This is where all the ravens were. And now we're going to start making our way into this area here. Okay, now right up here, we're going to run into an ambush. We saw this a little bit last week. There, you can't really see them, but there are shadow-cursed needle blights and vine blights hiding up here. And again, want to be able to deal with them, but we're going to move the vast majority of our party over here. Put everybody in hiding and group this up, and I'll be right back. I need 15 to 20 seconds. Hold on. Okay, sorry, it took more like 45 seconds. I was expecting it to be a delivery at the door, but it wasn't. I had to just answer a couple quick questions, So now I'm going to make my way over here with Astarion, because here you can see them. So we have a Needle Blight here. There's another one here. We have some vine blights and that sort of stuff throughout all of these others that are up here. You can see the detection cones and where they're at. Hadn't dug this one up, I had just found it when we walked by.
Time for discretion.
Okay. So now here you can start to see them. Vine blights and needle blights. Now needle blights, they have a needle burst. So whenever you kill them, they explode, and they do quite a bit of damage when they explode. So 6d8 piercing, plus 1d4 necrotic. So this is why I say that Minthara is not as useful on the eastern side of the river as Karlach is. With Karlach being able to throw from a distance and do a lot of damage, Minthara would have to be right up in your face swinging a greatsword to do it, and Needle Burst would not go well for her. So I say bring Karlach or somebody else ranged or throwing into this side. Minthara will be much more useful later. They also have perfect sentry, so they can't be surprised. They have a lot of movement speed, which again still doesn't show. They are plants, however, so if you are going to go the melee route, the Exterminator's Axe is going to be dealing an additional 1d6 fire damage here. I tend to use this as a last resort when somebody's up close. I can change out to it. But for the most part, I try not to use melee attacks against them. The Needle Burst, you know why? The Vine Blights, however, there's another reason why. They have Tangle Vine form. So any creature making a melee attack against this vine, this mess of writhing vines, may become entangled. And entangled is just like writhing vines and that sort of stuff from the Druid spell. You can't move. Attack rolls against you have advantage, and all of your attack rolls and dexterity saving throws have disadvantage. And you need a strength saving throw to pass it, or to save against it. They also have sprouting necrosis, so at the end of its turn, shadow cursed vines will sprout at its feet, and those vines again do the same thing. They're like the tangle vines that were in the broken druid circle with the woodwoads, where you walk into them and they keep you from moving, and they also do necrotic damage. So keeping your distance from all of these enemies is a good thing. So we're going to start this off here, and I believe we have one here. We do. So we're going to, and again, disadvantage because, oh, why? I have advantage against him. Okay, that's interesting. Can I get it from here? Okay, I can from here. I was like, why is that not working? Okay, so, actually I could start it against him, but this one, I don't think I'm going to be able to attack him. I'm trying to think of how this is going to play out. Can I even get a ranged attack there? No, I can't. Okay, so we're going to start it off here anyway. I'm going to get a sneak attack, and again, hold control, and keep going as soon as, and land as many as I can.
Let's give someone a surprise.
Okay, so it's just that one. Now I'm going to start dragging them back towards me, and for the rest of my party, Okay. We're going to actually move a little bit farther up here.
Let's be on my way.
Because I want Astarion to drag them down this way. Okay, and I'm not going to go too far up here, but I shouldn't have to. Okay. So again, kind of want to get the high ground here.
Let's turn someone inside out.
And for Astarion, you need to move a lot. The Vine Blights have a lot of movement. The Needle Blights do. The Vine Blights have a restrain ability that they can cast from 12 meters away. So if they can move and get within 12 meters of you, they will use that restrain ability, and that will lock you in place. And again, we don't want that to happen at all. So we're going to start dragging people back here toward us, and I'm going to just move Astarion back here behind
on the way.
This. Okay. Now they're grouped up rather nicely for this, and the injured Needle Blight is right there. Now, ideally, how you want this to work is they normally don't do enough explosion to outright kill one of their own on full hit points. They normally don't do enough for that. So you want to try and damage another one that is nearby, say this one here. So let me see if I can move out and deal damage here. I've got disadvantage on the attack, but actually, you know what? Let's not. Let's just do this the right way, quote unquote. We're gonna move Shadowheart up here. We're going to upcast a guiding bolt to proc radiating orbs on everybody down here and damage this Needle Blight. Okay, so that illuminates everybody.
Shall we dance?
Now Astarion should no longer have disadvantage on the attack roll. So we'll go ahead and attack this one. The explosion should trigger this one, and it will damage all the others. Then this one will explode, damage this one, which will trigger that one and explode. And we should get a chain reaction here. And probably we might not kill these front two, but we'll kind of see how it goes.
Excellent.
Okay, I take that back. We did manage to kill everybody. So that's how you kind of set up the Needle Blights. One of them by itself is not going to be able to kill another one and trigger it. However, if you can damage another one and then trigger the first one, he will damage everybody and kill the second one. The second one will damage everybody and kill a third one, etc., etc., etc. And then people caught in the middle of all of that just end up getting killed. The Vine Blight Yeah, see, got blasted. Got blasted for 19. Got blasted for 23. Got blasted for just over and over and over again for 34. So that's kind of how you utilize the Needle Blights. Now we have one left, and that's not a big deal because Astarion is again invisible here. We're gonna bring Karlach into this.
Rat feet.
Hopefully, he can throw from that location down there. But I want to get Astarion back a little bit, just to make sure he's out of the blast radius.
Don't be shy.
And here, I don't care about throwing the returning pike or not. I want the extra damage. Okay, so it's not letting me throw from there. There we go.
Handy.
Okay. And now my bard should be able to get the killing blow here with a ranged attack. Perfect. Alright. And like I say, that's kind of how you run that fight, is you try and get them all grouped up together, and then strategically damage one of the Needle Blights so that it causes a chain reaction when you kill one. Makes things a lot easier if you can manage to do that. Now we're also going to see something. I'm going to go pick up the returning pike.
There better be a soft bedrock.
Send that back to Karlach. Now on the ground are shadow cursed vines. Wherever one of them dies, you're going to have these vines left on the ground. When you walk through them, you have to make a saving throw, a strength saving throw, to avoid getting caught. If you do get caught, you're going to get 1d4 necrotic damage done against you. So it's just one of those things. If you want to loot any of these, just be prepared for the fact that you're going to possibly step into these and take a small amount of necrotic damage. But the wood bark for elixir of bark skin is a nice thing to have, especially for your casters. Why isn't that working? He's stuck off the edge. Yeah, not gonna let me loot him. Oh well. Okay, and then we're gonna do a couple of things. So let's, see, here's an example of it. He's gonna take 1d4 necrotic damage at the end of this. There it is. And then he can move out of it.
I can do better. I must.
Okay, none of these are speak with the dead, so... Oh, I've already searched them.
What path lies before me?
And we're gonna go up here in just a minute and deal with He Who Remains.
Open up.
I may have already searched this. Okay, but then I might not have. Okay. So, here, something that not many people know about. We're gonna take Shadowheart with her high perception. We're gonna move around behind the grave.
Onward then.
She gets a perception check.
Something went over the edge here.
And there are animal tracks that lead over the edge, and that lets you know there's this really dark area. You can see it on your map. It's just really obscured. So a lot of people don't know it's here. And there's another perception check for a burrow.
Some beast wanted to save it for later, perhaps?
Inside that burrow gives you the family ring. Now the family ring just gives you death saving throws +2, which isn't well, I hesitate to say it isn't very useful, but hopefully in an honor mode playthrough, it's not useful. Because the death saving throws are only when you're downed. And you have 3 of them. And if you fail them, you can go up or down. And if you run out of death saving throws, then you physically are dead. But this allows you to possibly stabilize a little bit easier when you have a +2 to those saving throws. It's not anything that I'm going to use though. But it's something kind of obscure that not a lot of people know about because it's kind of hidden back here. There's a clue inside the grave. And like I say, that perception check there with the beast tracks lets you know that there's possibly something else going on.
Intestines throb, blood whispers.
Now, we'll search these real quick.
Don't burn yourself. Looky.
Okay, so now we won't deliberately walk through the vines again. We'll come at it this way. And here's a key. Can't remember if the key goes to this one or that traveler's chest. Yeah, the keys here are kind of spread out and a little weird. That one might actually go to that traveler's chest that we already unlocked. I don't normally pay attention to searching out all of the keys, because Astarion is so good at lockpicking. I believe he still has his thief gear on, doesn't he? Oh, no, he doesn't. Let's see what the DC here is.
Skeleton key.
It's 10. Another nat 20. That's a little scary.
Wretched thing, pull yourself together. Never wanted the easy path.
Okay, and now to end things off, we're going to go up and talk to He Who Remains. And that will be the last thing that we do today.
Something over there.
There is the key, I think, to the chest that we just unlocked. I think that's what that key's for. Is for this chest here. But like I say, I normally don't worry about searching out all the keys. But if you don't have an Astarion or somebody in your party, and this key, I think, goes up here. Oh no, this wasn't it. This is the... Oh no, yeah, this is it. Yeah, I think this is it. I think this key goes up there. We'll try it out here real quick. Yes, use that key. Now I'm going to bring Astarion. We're actually going to go a couple of minutes long here because I want Astarion to go do this. Something else that not a lot of people know. Come up here to this broken bridge. A high strength character or somebody with Misty Step can actually jump across this. It is on your mini-map, just barely see it though. There's a signpost here.
Night and shadow have claimed this place. Turn back.
And there's a traveler's chest here, which has the child's diary in it. And this talks about the fact that they were trying to leave Wraithwind Town, but they were trying to leave after Kittrick, who was Ketheric, took over and kicked everybody out. Okay, and they died along the road here. And the sad part about it is that we have the skeletons over here. And then we have a tinier skeleton here to show the family remains. Now, this area is not accessible. There's nothing over there, even with Misty Step. But this was probably a road out to the rest of the area into Wraithwin, possibly from Baldur's Gate or from the now blighted village, something like that. But yeah, again, something that not a lot of people end up finding in their playthroughs. We have another skeleton here as well. And let's go talk to He Who Remains. And that will be the final thing that we do today.
Have to keep going.
Where lies your guilt?
The waning moon.
Lord Henry, Shadowheart didn't have Buwal's Blessing. Gale has it. Not Shadowheart. Shadowheart is here because it's Act 2 and her radiant damage is so much more useful. Gale will be coming back into the party for most of the rest of it.
You walk in the darkness unafraid. How curious. A fair point. Perhaps this one could assist us. The murdered lie silent. The raven asks, will you be their voice? She is not the victim. Nay, she is the perpetrator. This woman tended a bar where she took her patrons, her friends, into her confidence, promised their secrets were safe with her. Yet she turned their words into knives and stabbed them in the back. They died because of her, and to this day her victims lie unavenged. You see it as I do. I seek a record of this one's crimes, written in her own hand. Through it, I can summon her spirit and force her to face trial for her crimes.
Such spells are ancient secrets and closely guarded. But I could be convinced to share them with an ally.
Your soul sparks with justice, with fortitude. This is your chance to bring a murderer to justice, to avenge her victims. Will you take it? I thank you, as do those who died by her words. Go to the distillery, the one she calls the Waning Moon. Find the ledger and bring it to me.
Okay, now we will be following up with this. That gave us a new quest here, Punish the Wicked. We know where the Waning Moon is. It's right down by Moonrise Towers. After talking to Halsin, he knows a way to lift the Shadow Curse. We have to find Thaniel, and again, Minthara told us that we need to go look in Balthazar's quarters to find some relic of some sort to deal with Ketheric's invulnerability. And we're going to be doing all of that and more as we continue on. One thing I will mention here about He Who Was. He Who Was is a way to break your Paladin Oath. So if you are playing as a paladin, the normal way to complete his quest will actually break your oath. So I would highly advise you to go to the wiki and find out the alternate ways to complete this quest or to deal with He Who Remains if you don't want to have to deal with breaking your oath, because like I say, the normal conversation will lead you to do it no matter what. So, with that said, we're going to drop a save here, and we're going to pick up next week by kind of opening up the rest of this, which all we have is this little section. And then we're going to head more into this area here. This area and this area down here, there are going to be some big fights. One against a legendary enemy. And we want to make sure that we have all of the gear and our level ups and everything correct before we go into that. There's a way to cheese it, which of course I'm going to do since it's honor mode. But I haven't been able to test it yet in honor mode because the enemy with this legendary reaction changes a little bit. And I want to make sure it's still going to work in my personal playthrough before I try it on, on a stream for you guys. But other than that, we're going to get into some big fights next week, finish up this side, and then we are going to go to the Last Light Inn. And we are going to have a lot of stuff to do. So we won't get through all of it next week, but we probably will, or we will the week after that. And then we will start working our way through the west side of the river here and dealing with all of the multiple legendary enemies that are here in Wraithwind Town. So, as always, thank you all for being here. I again apologize for the unexpected week off because of my internet line being sawed in half. Hopefully that will get fixed permanently in a way that doesn't disturb any of our other streams, but for now, tomorrow's live stream for the Paladin is still on, so I will let you know if anything changes. But as always, thank you all for being here, because without your support, none of this would be possible. This is Commander Jorval saying until next time, fare thee well.